Hey there. Hey there.
Greetings, friends! I am here with Doug from Off Grid with Doug and Stacy. And today we're going to be chatting with Doug about 3 things you need to know before you go off grid. And Doug, how long have you been living the life off grid?
So we've been at our properties now for 7 years. We did city life and we moved out to the country on 11 acres. And we live with no solar power, wind turbines, or water power. We live just like pioneers in the 21st century.
Wow, that is fantastic.
It's hardcore. You're not going to do it like us, but we're going to give you 3 tips that could probably make your transition a little better.
And for those of you, whether you're looking to get started or you've been off grid, whether partially or fully, these tips are going to help you. And one of the first questions we're going to ask Doug is, what is the first thing you would do as you're beginning to pursue the life of living off grid?
Excellent question, because I think this is one of the things that a lot of people don't really think about, and then when they think about it or find out about it, it's too late. You have to check the county and city ordinances on the place where you want to buy your property. So as soon as you find that piece of land that you're just in love with and you think it's fantastic, you have to go right down to City Hall. You have to ask about permits, requirements, restrictions, and get all that stuff out of the way. We actually know people that have bought property and built a structure and were getting ready to live their adventure, and the county or city came in and said, oh, you can't live that way right here, and it messed up everything.
Wow, wow. That actually happened to us. We don't live fully off grid, but we're partially off grid, and one of the steps that we were taking is because we were moving out and living in a yurt, and in our county that was something that was just completely new to these government officials and people who deal with the ordinances, and they didn't know what to do with us. So it actually was a hindrance to us, and it caused us to actually be slower in setting up our property and our homestead, slower than we initially planned it to be. So it is definitely a hurdle and something you definitely want to make sure you get ironed out before you make the decision and to move forward.
That is number 1.
Yes. Second thing we want to discuss is, would you suggest people who are going to go off grid to just completely go cold turkey, or to make it a transitional phase and make incremental steps in pursuing the life off grid?
So that's a great question, because there's so many different personality types. Some people are like, jump right in, go all the way. Some people kind of, they get their toes a little wet and then they get in there. So we kind of did like a 2-phase approach. We left our big house in the city and we moved into a 1-bedroom apartment just to kind of get used to a smaller space, because we knew we were building a log cabin. And we also wanted to use less resources, so we use less water, less power, less everything. So it just kind of depends on what you're comfortable with. Sometimes, even if you're not comfortable with going all in and then working it out from there, it's almost better because you can almost overanalyze everything and have an analysis paralysis.
Yes.
And so that could happen too. But for us, we never even knew like we would be off grid. We were still investigating solar. We were thinking about propane refrigeration, stuff like that. And then when we got out here, we actually bought a spot that's about 10 miles away from an Amish community, and once we actually saw them living this lifestyle, we thought, that's it, we can totally do that, and that's what we've done for 7 years successfully.
So basically you're saying it depends on your personality.
Yeah, I mean, if some of you guys, your wife might not go for it, and so you might have to ease her into it a little bit. And I've had some women say, I'm all in, but my husband's not going to go using a composting toilet with sawdust. I've actually had that. So it's like, you just kind of got to figure out what's good for you. But I think, like for us and the way we've always been, is that we like to push our boundaries, right?
Yeah.
So if you can do that and it works for you, that might be something that you could consider. But just try to find your comfort zone, because one thing you don't want to do is make it overly complicated or go too fast where you get frustrated and then you want to just give up and then maybe go back to city life, or something might not work out for you. So
that's exactly right. Another important thing is, how do you manage food, water, and other basic necessities as you're going off grid?
Yeah, especially like for us, we mentioned earlier that we don't do any solar power or wind turbines or anything. So food preservation, we didn't have a well here. And of course, if you don't have power coming to your property right off, then you don't have a well because there's no way to pump the water. So when we got here, the well was an idea. But then, power in the well was a problem. And then in our area, wells are down about 600-700 feet. So it costs a lot of money to get to the water. So actually, because we hauled water on our property in 1-gallon totes and 5-gallon buckets, we were able to devise a plan where we came up with a 3,000 gallon rainwater catchment system, and that gravity feeds into our cabin. The other things about food preservation is we didn't have refrigeration. We're just now in the process of building a root cellar so we can actually store the food that we grow all through the summer that'll last us to the next year's planting and harvesting. So that's really good for us going forward. But what we are doing before that and after that is fermenting. We ferment all of our food from the garden, everything we do, and it also helps with your microbes in your stomach. It's better for your health instead of like canning. So we're not very good. We don't do a lot of canning around here, but we do a lot of fermenting for food preservation. We smoke meats. We have other ways that we do food preservation. And then, the heat, right? So we live in the Midwest. It gets really cold here, zeros and below. And so we work off of a wood cook stove. So I'm harvesting wood throughout the year so we can use that, in the wood cook stove to help cook and to also provide heat for us.
That's great. That's great. And this is kind of a bonus tip here is you also probably want to make sure that you analyze your context in your property and what you have available, the resources you have available as far as what you may need to go find elsewhere to help supplement your basic needs.
Especially like wood, right? So like our property is not wood rich, we're pasture rich. So we kind of like that because, we do raise our own meat. And so we have a lot of pastures. We rotate them every 30 days. But for woods, you'd be surprised how many neighbors around your area, when you find a spot, they're very happy and inviting for you to come and get the deadfall and even to just clear out some areas, and they will just let you have the wood. As a matter of fact, I was just talking to a neighbor a little bit ago, and he has a lot of trees down that we'll be able to go over there and utilize. So we haven't had a problem with woods yet. We have a couple of acres of woods, but that's not really sustainable, like if there was a problem or anything. So it's good to have neighbors around that we can go to and then get wood from them anytime we need to. So it's good to build community and a spot that you're going to move to, so that way you guys can help each other out in that little tight community.
That's a good point, because sometimes when people are pursuing life, whether it be as a homestead or off grid, they almost want to isolate themselves. So you're suggesting people that you actually want to develop a community even though you're living off grid?
I think some people that go into the off grid lifestyle, I think they have like a couple of mentalities. Like there's a thing called going galt. So that means like when you go, like a lot of people are confused, like if Doug and Stacy are off grid, why are they on social media? Why are they posting to YouTube? Why do they have Facebook? You know what I mean? Yeah. And so we're not anti-social off grid. We just want to have zero bills. We want to pay for it once and then use it the rest of our lives. And we also want to cut back on consumption. So that was our main motivations, and then growing our own food for our health. So those were the things that we had in mind when we came out here. Everyone has their different motivations, but definitely we have the belief that community is very important. We like to be self-sufficient, but we build that self-sufficiency around our community. I think some people think that if you're self-sufficient, like no one's going to help me do anything and I'm going to do everything myself. And that's just not the case. Even if you have that mentality, I'll promise you, sooner or later, you're going to need to rely on a neighbor.
Yeah, that is great advice. And speaking of social media, Doug and his wife Stacy have a fantastic YouTube channel. And make sure you check it out, Off Grid with Doug and Stacy. And where else can people follow you guys?
Oh my gosh, any social media thing out there. We're on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. The only reason why we're on those actually too is just to help people that might have come across this video because of the title or have seen us out and about on other videos, is because we want to help people make that decision. My wife and I are firm preachers, if you will, about growing your own food, getting closer to your food, living a healthier life, circadian rhythms, waking up with the sun, going to bed when the moon comes up, like how we were designed to be. Over the last 100 years since the Industrial Revolution, we've gotten farther and farther away from that. And if you guys are watching this video, friends that are on tons of medications, they're sick all the time, and that's the kind of stuff we wanted to avoid. We're in our 50s. We never have had a primary care physician, really. We don't have one now. We eat really good. We're up. We're in the sun. We're physically doing the stuff. And I think it's helping us to stay healthier.
That's right. That's right. And those of you who follow our channel know that we're about those things.
That's right.
And we have learned a lot from Doug and his wife Stacy.
Well, that's the only reason why you're here doing videos, is because we know that you guys are part of that community.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And we appreciate
Even though you have air conditioning, you cheaters. You believe this guy?
Yeah. Had to get air. But Doug, thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. I'm glad you guys made it out and have safe travels home. If you guys maybe just came here for the first time because you saw the title Off Grid, they live in a yurt, they grow their own food, they market garden, another way that you can break free from the 9 to 5, and instead of working for somebody else, you could actually work for yourself from 8 to 7.
There you go.
And produce your own income. But the beauty of it, I think, for you, because you guys have a young family, is that you're able to have all that time together with your whole family. All of us are so busy all the time, you end up losing a lot of those precious moments. And I commend you guys for doing that and making the commitment. Even though there's a little bit of a struggle there,
yes.
Once you get it figured out, though, it's better for all the way around. But it's better for community, the whole social community period. It's better for your family. It's better for your kids growing up, understanding things and knowing where food comes. We know that there are kids out there right now that don't even know where eggs come from. They think milk comes from a carton. I mean, we want to educate and promote this to the youth, and that's another big driver,
That's exactly right, and that was part of the main driving force for our family and why we started to pursue the lifestyle that we did, is so that way we can live a life more connected to one another and connected to the earth and connected to the community of people. And it seems like you and your wife, that's the same thing that you guys
I'm connected. Man, it's connected me out of, I'm breaking down over here, but we're doing it.
But you guys, you and your wife, Stacy, you get to share the life
all
together.
day, man. It used to be I'd go to work and run my business, she'd go do her business. We might meet back together to have dinner. I might eat cold or warmed up leftovers. You know how it is, like this go, and then what happens, right? Like the 7-year itch, right? All of a sudden, I love you, but I'm not in love with you. You guys drift apart. So I think it's really strengthened our relationship, that we're around each other. We depend on each other a lot more living this lifestyle than we did living the city lifestyle, where we were more dependent on the system than we were on each other. So, it worked for us. You guys probably won't go as hardcore as we did, but at least if you could get these tips, you can maybe start making that decision. If you could get solar, there's wind power. If you live by running water, you could do water power, hydro. So there's lots of different ways you could supplement your energy needs. We do run a small generator from time to time, and a lot of stuff we actually charge up off of our car. You could get a DC inverter and power things that way, and then when you're driving around errands, you charge your phone, stuff like that. So it's very doable if you want to do it, but everyone will have their different comfort zones. And by the way, we do have air conditioning. We just have Amish air conditioning. We just open the windows or sleep outside.
There we go. And Doug just provided 3 things you need to know before you go off grid, and also a few bonus tips. So please take what he said to heart, and for those of you who are going off grid, follow his advice and you'll be successful. And also remember the reason why you're doing what you're doing. And we'll see you next time, and remember, grow on.
And don't forget, hit that subscribe button if you've never been here before. Make sure you ring the bell. And don't think for a second that Mike's taller than I am, because I'm really the taller one
there
here.
You go.
Thanks for watching.
Feel free to leave a comment below, even if it's just to say, hey. Also, make sure you don't miss any of our new videos. So, subscribe and sign up to receive notifications each time we release a new video. Also, you may want to check out these videos right here, and also check us out on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. See you next time.